the greatest, no, not one of the greatest, the greatest danger that the world faces is the threat of use of nuclear weapons. Fortunately, since the end of the Second World War and Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they have not been used. Although a couple of times, especially during the Cuban Missile Crisis, there was the threat of using them. And of course, had they been used, we would not be sitting here today. Now, unfortunately, I think mankind has become rather too blasé about these weapons. And we have got used to live with them. The time has come to really go back to the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which makes it binding on all the nuclear powers, that as a matter of goodwill, seriously, they should try to get rid of nuclear weapons. Sadly, this has not taken place. Instead, there is proliferation of nuclear weapons. Now, speaking a word about Iran's, I don't know what their intentions are. All that we can go by is not to be again befooled by the same kind of propaganda that happened before the Iraq War. The main authority which should decide on this is the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. And in their repeated reports on Iran, and they are of course on the spot, they carry out inspections, they have still a number of questions. They say Iran can be more transparent, but consistently IAEA has said that there is no evidence of any military use of their nuclear technology. Now, according to the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, every country which joins the NPT has the right to enrich uranium. In fact, not only that, they say it is an inalienable right, and they call on other countries to help them. The West has been telling Iran that she is not allowed to enrich uranium. And what they say is that maybe because someday they might break out and turn to nuclear weapons. I think the solution to that would be to abide by international law. In other words, one cannot deny a country, especially one which has had a long history of nuclear work, right from the time before the Shah, when the Americans agreed with him to have some 2023 nuclear reactors, to deny them a peaceful use of nuclear energy and the enrichment of uranium. At the same time, they should make sure that Iran will not have nuclear weapons. Because I think, as somebody who was born in Iran, but I'm British, I believe that it would be very wrong for Iran to have nuclear weapons. Because it does not help them, it makes the situation much more dangerous. However, I think that if you are telling Iran that you are not allowed to have any nuclear weapons, one should really look at the entire regional situation. At first, America had the nuclear weapons, and it was the sole superpower with nuclear weapons. Of course, in those days, Soviet Union was in competition. So a few years later, Soviet Union developed nuclear weapons. Then a rift took place between Soviet Union and China. And China, which was an ascending, aspiring country, then developed nuclear weapons. There was some problem during the Cold War period between China and India. They had gone to a number of wars. So India thought, if China has it, I must have it. So India had it. But then there has been the long-term quarrel between India and Pakistan said, if India has it, I must have it. Now in the Middle East, you can see some sort of a silly logic that one thing led to the other. However, in the Middle East, Israel was the country which introduced nuclear weapons, while no other country in the Middle East had them. Now, various resolutions have called for the establishment of a nuclear-free zone in the Middle East. Hopefully, if one can bring about some sort of resolution of the Arab-Israeli conflict, the international community must put pressure on Israel to open and declare its nuclear weapons and get rid of them. Because this would be the way of rolling back this process and then declaring the whole of the Middle East as a nuclear-free zone. And I think the NPT, and something which is completely ignored and forgotten, requires of the 5 main early nuclear countries that they should try to, in good faith, get rid of all their nuclear weapons. I hope that President Obama will be able to seize the chance at this time when he has got the goodwill of the entire world for him, and really take serious action, discussion and dialogue with Iran. Iran is a major country in the Middle East. It is silly to try to isolate it. It has always been a major country in the Middle East. It should be involved, but then for the Iranians too, they should learn that there are rules of the game, and if they want to join in, they must, in good faith, give rid of any idea of nuclear weapons, join the international community, try to facilitate a just and viable peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and also help in the conflict in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and also play a very constructive role in the Persian Gulf and supply of energy. So this, I think, is a great moment in history. It is one of the turning points in the history of the world. It should not be squandered. Martin Luther King, again about a year before his death, he spoke about the triplet. He called them America's original sins of racism, materialism, and militarism. Now, with the election of President Obama, the Americans have put an end to racism, and they have embraced, and all backgrounds, both black and white, joined and elected this first black American president. I hope that with the terrible financial problems that we are facing, the materialism side of it too will be to some extent ameliorated, and people would have a much more serious attitude towards life rather than just making money. The third point that he mentioned was militarism. Now, America spends nearly as much on its military than the rest of the world put together. This is made for an empire, but America's genius is that it is a democracy. It is a guide to mankind. It is its ideals which are its strength and can attract the people around the world, not its weapons. And therefore, I hope that all these tanks will be turned into tractors, and this huge amount of money, hundreds of billions of dollars, which are spent on war and destruction, would be built both on the reconstruction of America and also giving hope to the rest of mankind. Therefore, I think we really are at the cusp of a new age of development for humanity. Or equally, if the dreams and the hopes of mankind are shattered, we will be at a very difficult point, because then pessimism and cynicism will set in and the problems will continue.